I guess there were a few things that led me to join Rathbones. I guess the biggest thing was I had quite a long career developing, for instance, businesses like Invesco Perpetual, etc. And actually, one of the areas I enjoyed the most was taking small businesses and making them larger. And I had been, up until I joined Rathbones, at an institutional shop called Hermes Asset Management, where I was the business development director there, learning more of the institutional side than anything else. But I felt really my heart was still in retail more than anything else. And when the role came up, it was obviously very interesting. Rathbones as a business is a FTSE 250 PLC business. Its prime business is wealth management. And Unit Trust just forms part of a number of subsidiaries within it. When I joined the fund management business, the Unit Trust business was at about 750 million under management. Today we are 3.1 billion, about 6 years later. We started last year beginning to develop relationships with international advisors who focus predominantly on expatriates, as well as life companies and cure-op providers, because most advisors tend to do their business via those routes. So there was a lot of infrastructure to put into place. So this is, if you like, the last piece of the jigsaw. So we're launching 4 funds in Luxembourg initially, hopefully more to come at some point. So 3 of the funds are multi-asset funds. So if you like, they're all weather funds, but they have different risk profiles within them, running from the Total Return Fund, which is a relatively cautious fund with a LIBOR +2 target, through to Enhanced Growth, which essentially has roughly the same risk as the MSCI World, and aims to outperform that over the long term. The Ethical Bond Fund is a very differentiated product, and is aimed at those people who want a very specialised product, particularly in the expat market. Obviously, anything that's British and you're ex-British is going to appeal. Europe is a natural extension for us. It's where the majority of British expats sit, and is a ready market. Let's remember also that Luxembourg is not just a base for Europe. So in the very long term, it's actually a base for the rest of the world. In terms of future plans, our job is to stick to our knitting. We do what we do really, really well. And that's something I really believe in. I've worked in asset management businesses where we've had upwards of 300 funds, and you're still really only selling 6 or 7 of them. We moved into Curzon Street. We obviously have 14 branches around the UK already, but in London, we moved here 4 years ago. We've grown substantially quicker than you could have anticipated, including a couple of acquisitions such as Jupiter and Deutsche Tilney's London business last year. And that's creating pressure on space. And we found an ideal property in the city where we can all move, so we keep the culture together, we're not split up. And that's particularly important as far as the investment personnel are concerned. So having found that at good financial rates, which allows us to expand very considerably from here at roughly the same price as we're currently paying here, made sense. And so we'll be moving sometime in the first quarter of 2017. Yeah, no, we absolutely look at acquisitions. I think we've got a very good reputation for that. And we'll continue to do so. And as a result, we get to see most, probably if not all, potential acquisitions that are likely to come to the market. The most important thing, however, is there has to be a cultural fit. So the number of firms that we walk away from even before negotiations is because we have concerns around cultural fit. I got into the business because I tried to be an actor when I was just having left university as a law graduate. Did that for sort of 18 months, Edinburgh Fringe a couple of times, and stand-up comedy through pubs and clubs around the UK.
Yeah. What was that like?
Terrifying, but I had the arrogance of youth at the time, so it was okay. I had a really good time and did all sorts of weird jobs just to fund that. During those 18 months, but the bank didn't agree with me. They thought it wasn't funny. I also realised that I wasn't good enough, so I had to find myself a proper job. So in 1986 I got a job at Hambros Bank. Originally I thought I'd probably be there a couple of years to pay off my debts, but actually once I got in it I realised that I really enjoyed it. I was pretty good at it and have stayed ever since. So I'd love to say, oh, this is my burning ambition. It wasn't, but it is now. So I moved to a company called Prolific Financial Management, which then became Scottish Provident and then Aberdeen. Again, that was a change program, breathe life back into it, and we were very successful at that company. So I ran their marketing and sales for 5 years, and then left to join GT, which was again another very entrepreneurial business. Fantastic time there, but unfortunately we got sold to Invesco at the time. I felt unfortunate at the time. Actually, it turned into one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I joined Invesco as part of that acquisition to head up their retail business, and grew that from 1.8 billion to 24 billion. The key to the success in the early days, and then enhanced by the acquisition of Perpetual, was that we retained this amazing culture where we were all trying to help one another. There was no negativity in the company. And that kind of atmosphere not only creates stability, it creates collegiality, creates a sort of real vision and drive. And that comes through in the end. I know that sounds an awful sort of puff. There wasn't, we didn't come up with a strategy that nobody else had, but we were very clear about what we wanted to be and how we wanted to be perceived. And that in the end, plus great investment performance. I then took 18 months off. I'd had enough for a while. Decided I would go travel the world and do all the things I meant to do, but never had time to do it. Well, I guess, the two main things is the launch of these offshore funds, which is due for May. And we're talking with a couple of major cornerstone investors about potentially another fund launch later in the year, but I'm not really in a position to talk about that yet, and it would entirely depend on those conversations. We are quite unlike any other business where our investment managers have a degree of autonomy within, but supported by a massive investment in central research, strategic asset allocation guidance. But at the bottom line is that they are accountable for every investment decision that they make. Now that is not the same as lots of people who tell you that they are that, but they are genuinely relationship managers. And that really genuinely sets us apart from anybody else. And then you have the heritage of the business, the fact that we are completely focused on making sure that we have the right reputation in the market, because that's what's made us successful. We're not there for growth's sake, we're there to generate a sustainable business, and that's what creates the Rathbone brand and makes us, makes people want us to do business with them, because they feel they can trust us. We're here for the long term. After all, we've been here since 1742, and the reason why we're here is because we can adapt to the environment. It's the survival of those who can adapt. It's not the survival of the fittest. That wasn't actually what Darwin said.